Just waiting for official U.S. Cellular time.
Is that tied to the atomic clock?
I think it is tied to a satellite someplace. We're getting satellite time.
Seven.
Because, well, cellular, I guess. I don't know if it's satellite, it's cellular.
Yeah.
Okay, I got 5:30. All right, good evening, everybody. This is Centerville Community School District. We'll start out with our district mission statement that all students will learn well, become lifelong learners, and contribute positively to society. This is a regular board meeting on December 12th, 2022, p.m. in the Centerville Administration offices. I will call the regular board meeting to order with a roll call, please.
Moore.
Here.
Mike Thomas.
Here.
Bob Thomas.
Here.
Shondell.
Here.
Berger.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Liskus.
Here. I'd like to welcome any and all visitors that are here tonight. I know we have one that's going to come speak to us, and we're looking forward to that. The next thing is our public forum, and something I learned at the IASB convention in November is to, they're kind of advising districts to read a statement before public forum. So I'm going to do that, and it'll be something that we'll kind of incorporate over time. So this is something coming out of the convention. So we'll now open the floor for public comment. I want to remind all speakers that while this is an open forum for any issues of praise or concern, the board does expect all speakers to maintain a civil tone and refrain from using profanity, raising their voices, or making statements that are threatening or harassing towards them. Any speaker who creates a disruption may be asked to leave the meeting. I want to also remind all speakers that any comments that may be made during the public meeting are done so at your own risk, that the person making the comments that the district will not be responsible for defamatory or potentially defamatory statements which may be made about a particular person or persons. Individuals are advised to seek legal counsel if they're uncertain about the character of their comments. It's the board's practice not to engage or respond to any speakers during the public comment session, regardless of the topic or concern. If the board wishes to further discuss or address any item or concern raised in public comment, will do so by establishing an agenda item at a future board meeting or delegating responsibility to the administration to address the issue. With that, we'll probably make that a little shorter. That's a little longer than I thought, but at this point, are there any public comments that anybody wants to bring and address to the board?
Mecca, there was a beep. Did somebody try to get into the meeting on that?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
All right, hearing no public comments, we'll move on to approving the agenda. Looking for a motion in a second.
Motion approved.
Second. We have a motion second to approve the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The agenda is approved. Next item is to approve the meetings of the previous meeting. That's from the November 14th meeting. Any questions on the meeting minutes, changes, updates? Otherwise, the motion and a second, please.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion second to approve the meeting minutes from November 14th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. There is no old business. New business. Looking forward to this. You want to do an introduction?
Yes, I would like to do that. So with us tonight, we have Belinda Potter. Belinda is our, the name of your role again? Not
I'm
kitchen,
Food Service Director.
food service
Okay.
director through OPA. She's here to kind of make a presentation on OPA. Feel free to come on up and join us, and
Okay.
and then we can have some time for questions at the end.
Okay.
Thanks for coming, by the way.
You are very welcome to take one of those and pass it around. This is something that you will see every month. OPA requires that I come twice a school year to present to the board and answer questions, and I'm always available to answer any questions you have, whether it's at a board meeting or not. This, just one paper
Okay,
is all
got
it
it.
is. And this is a paper that will come to Mr. Taylor every month. Since I kind of jumped in after school had already started, this is, I'm a little behind on a couple of things. But you will notice the numbers for breakfast and for lunches and for the staff meals dollars. That is from the month of December, or month of November, I'm sorry. And then some of the pictures that are on here are just pictures that our staff has taken at some of our different buildings. The first picture up here, we do a specialty salad that is only at Lakeview right now, and that's what that is. And then the other pictures, one is of our fruit and vegetable bar, and then the other ones are just some of the entrees that we had had.
How's it going in general? You're just new to the role, so, and you're from the area, is that right?
Well, I'm from Moulton,
Okay,
so I was the food service director in Moulton from 2005 until about 2015, 16, somewhere right in there is when I left.
okay.
So there is some things that have changed that I'm getting back into and figuring out and making sure everything is flowing good. Staff issues, we had some in the beginning, but I have a great staff. I cannot say that. I have a great staff. For the most part, I have everybody in the right position where I need them. I do have a couple that need a little bit of guidance, and we've been working on some of that stuff. So hopefully that will get better. I do have one at the middle school that I think is going to, she has put in a 2-week notice and is going to leave us to go on the other side and work one-on-one with the students. So we probably will not replace that person because I feel like I have enough people at Lakeview that somebody from there can go and fill that position for a couple hours every day.
So we did steal that person from her, by the way. It wasn't so much, even on the letter we originally received, it wasn't so much about food service, but more about moving into this different role.
Yep. And she's
some
worked food
physical
service for a
things.
long time, so sometimes when you work food service for a long time, you're ready for a different, something different every day. So, in the beginning, I think we had some issues. I think a lot of it was, personalities that did not work well, mesh well, listen to others, try to figure out how to make everything flow correctly. And since I come on board, we've not had that issue.
Change is always hard.
Change is hard for everybody, yes. And I think the biggest change that we're seeing with some of our stuff is that for a long time, they've been used to USDA menus, and how things look and stuff like that. And now we have a dietitian. Some of this is even new for me. I've made my own menus and have submitted them to the state, and the state, looks them over and tells you what you need or don't need. And now we have a dietitian that is doing it for us. And the menus are different, I don't know, the recipes are different from some things. Like the stromboli, I discussed that with my staff the other night. We had a supper on Friday night and we discussed it today during our PD day. It's not something that the kids are used to seeing. It's not the same recipe.
You said you had a dinner on Friday night?
Our group got together.
Okay,
It's
your
our
staff,
group
an open
from the
staff,
kitchen.
got it.
Our
Okay,
staff.
okay.
Well, our school staff, we went out on our own together just to celebrate Christmas a little
Ah, okay.
bit. So while
okay.
we were having our dinner, we talked about
Okay,
some of
okay.
this stuff, yes.
Got it.
Yeah, and that's what I said was, how did they like the stromboli? And somebody said, really, it looked like a cinnamon roll till I cut into it. And then I seen all of the sauce and the pepperoni and, it's just, the dynamics are a little bit different. They're just not used to seeing some of the things that they're seeing. It's not necessarily that it's not the same stuff, it's just prepared a little bit different. And I know in the beginning, we had Terry was with us, she took lunch numbers or breakfast numbers, jumped in, helped, stuff like that. That does not happen. I take all the breakfast numbers myself. Terry was great to come and help me for the first 3 weeks, just because she likes to be there with the kids and say good morning and stuff, But I even kind of like the fact that she's let me go solo, because now I've learned more of the kids' names and, more of a one-on-one learning
So do
them.
you have to get a count? Are you looking for a count the more you know how many meals to prepare?
So we
Is
do
that what
have
you're
a,
saying?
no, we have a count. At Lakeview, we get a count every day. The only place, I do not get a count at high school, so it's a guessing game at high school. But my kitchen manager at the high school has really got it figured out, depending upon what we're serving, just about how much she needs every day.
Because you need to figure out how many meals to prepare versus how many people are bringing their lunch in, okay?
Well, and then at the middle school, I know in the very beginning, my kitchen manager there said that they were not getting accounts, so they were running out of stuff. Kids were also changing their minds of what, they wanted. So she addressed that and now is getting a count. So those issues have been a little bit more resolved
Okay,
than what they were in the beginning.
okay. Anybody got questions?
I don't know if this is necessarily a question for you, but maybe just in general, coming up, I guess, seeing a comparison from last year to this year,
The number of meals?
yeah, where we're sitting at.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
So what do the meals look like from last year compared to how many? I mean, I don't know those numbers.
I think
I think that's what I'm-
the number of meals
Yeah.
being served.
Being served,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I do know that when I do an inventory every Friday, and I have to put in a weekly operating report that I submit to my boss. And in that weekly operating report, I have a target amount of meals that they want me to try to hit every week. And that number, from what I've been told, is based off of some of the data that they collected from the school to get to that target. And I do know that target is 749 meals a week as a district. And I've been very, very close to hitting it. One week we were at 742, this past week we were at 715. So lunch is almost right on target.
So we're basically, you're serving the same number of meals as we were in previous years when the district was doing the menu, is that what I'm
And we
hearing?
can look, I can look that
So
up.
the
Yeah.
trick that we may wanna compare to, even on a per pupil basis, is going back to before it was free lunch too.
Yeah,
So with last year it being free lunch and it being paid this year, that might not be apples to apples. We might wanna go back to,
2019.
yeah,
Yes, before COVID hit.
Right.
Yes, yes.
I'm gonna put that on my note for us.
That's just kind of more of an interesting number, it's not a reflection.
No, and we have, I mean, they have kept great records at Lakeview, so I have boxes after boxes of records that if I need to go back and dig through things, I can do that too.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
And I know like our breakfast numbers, I have a target of 388 that they would like for me to hit every week. And I'm way off
that a-
from that.
388 a day?
388 a day, yes.
Okay, got it,
Yes,
okay.
is what they would like for me to be
Okay.
at.
Okay.
And right now, I'm sitting at like 242.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So, what we've done is, we've been brainstorming, so, the more meals we get helps OPA, helps the school district, it helps the kids, it helps everybody. So, we've done some brainstorming, and I've talked with the high school principal, so after, we come back from our Christmas break, we are going to try to do a grab-and-go lunch, maybe, or grab-and-go breakfast, where the kids come in the building, because, high school kids, they run kind of late, have lunch on myself. Breakfast is not on their mind, so maybe if we can get them at the door, because, if we get 15 in that on a daily basis, that's good. And I'm looking to push that number to 30 or better.
Okay. So those are some metrics that OPA's asking you to try and get.
Yes, yes.
So Linda, you might share with them what you're gonna do at Lakeview on the snow days, that's all new to
Oh,
the
yeah.
district too.
So I had a question about snow days. What do? We have a lot of kids that, need breakfast.
Late start
So,
snow days, I guess.
on a late start,
Okay,
a 2-hour delay, we are still going to serve breakfast. We have cereal that we sit on every day, juice, things, it takes no time to open that stuff and have breakfast. So kids that come in can come down to the cafeteria and have breakfast.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's not, it's an easy thing.
that's an interesting thing, because you would think on a snow day, they'd have more time to eat at home, but there may be reasons why they're not.
Yes,
Got it. I can probably imagine some of the reasons. Parents going to work and things like that, and kids sleeping and not getting up and eating, because they're kids, yeah,
yes.
okay.
But that is an option, and I don't know what free and reduced looks like or anything like that, but I encourage everybody to fill out a free and reduced application, whether you are free or whether you are not free, you know, even if your application is denied, because when you look at grants and stuff like that, those numbers, you know, all work into that.
Anything else from the board? Okay,
Yeah.
what,
I think so.
okay, what I'll say is, in my business, I tend to see quite a few kids here and there, and I usually ask kids, you know, what school they go to, what grade they're in. I kind of lead it, I want to know if they're going to several schools. And then I ask them, what do you think about lunch? And I've asked probably 100 kids at this point to do that. And everybody says lunch is so much better. So I've had one kid say they didn't eat lunch when their two siblings did. And I asked why. And the answer was, they're in the middle school, and I think it's the middle lunch, do you have 3 lunch periods?
Yes.
In the middle lunch period, this student didn't feel that they had enough time to go through the line. And I don't know if that's a valid reason or if that's just whatever. But her 2 older brothers, who were much bigger and had bigger appetites, they ate the lunch, and I said, are you getting enough in the, oh yeah, it's getting enough to fill me up. So, you know, portion sizes seems to be pretty good in high school, so. So it may just be a perception that somebody says, I don't feel like I have time to go through the line. I don't know if that's valid or not, but.
If I hear anything from most people, that is probably one thing that I do hear, and I hear it all the way through the buildings, is that lunch periods could be just a little bit longer.
Okay.
And you know, it's interesting though, because you think about how little choice kids have in their lives sometimes, and how when you present them where you come and you can choose, what do you want to put on the salad, what do you want to do, it ends up taking a lot longer for some
And it
kids.
does.
So I think in a way like this is, I believe that I know, look at me fail to make a choice here. There's plenty of adults that struggle with that sometimes too, so I think it's a good experience for them to go through making some choices every day. And that definitely factors into that.
How long have you been officially in this?
I came, I believe it was October 12th. Yeah.
Well, and I asked that because previous life, Belinda and I worked together in Hy-Vee, and so I know her work ethic, and what she will do. She will do what she says she's gonna do, so I'm, you know, obviously change is difficult, but there's some, again, got some picky eaters and then some not, so, you know, I think as we continue and have these presentations, I think more good things will come up, but.
Well, and there's a whole lot of, they're doing a lot of different things that they've never had to do before, kind of like baking the bread and different things, you know. The bread is fresh versus a bun. You know, I can tell you when I worked at Molden, I did it all. I made the food, served the food, cleaned up the food, did everything, stood at the trash can, and always stood at the trash cans to see what kids are throwing away. You know, and I know that is probably a big thing I've heard a lot too, is the bun situation, you know, but I can honestly tell you that if you're serving 12 buns, maybe in the beginning, you might have 10 of them that are 8, but it doesn't take very long that more of them are going in the garbage than they are going into a child's belly. And with the rolls, you know, they're figuring out how to proof them, how to do different things that they've never had to do before, and they are a nice size roll for them, that if they wanted to make it a sandwich, they could easily make it a sandwich.
Are you saying they're wasting more, or they're eating more that they're home?
Well, I feel like the kids eat more of the bread, with it being the rolls, than if we were having hamburger buns. That's a big thing I hear a lot, is
'Cause
that,
it's
why
homemade,
don't we have a
basically.
bun with our chicken patties?
Oh, okay.
Every Wednesday is chicken patties.
I get it.
And my staff probably complains the most about Wednesday chicken patties. But I will guarantee you that is our biggest day of the week where kids eat. You know,
Okay.
and I've made the homemade meals before, and those meals that you put blood, sweat, and tears in are less than on a chicken patty day. Kids just love them.
We used to have to stop and dump trash bags sometimes during lunch shifts, and we don't have that. I mean, I think we can see the consumption at Lakeview has increased. There's not a lot of
So
food
that was
thrown
gonna be
away.
a nice question is,
'Cause, yeah.
for those of you that have been there, what's the waste?
Yeah, I think it's cut down.
Okay. Good, okay, great.
And I encourage anybody that ever wants to see it, have lunch, whatever, come and have lunch with us, you know? I will buy your lunch for the day.
And I would encourage more. I did it once and I thought, we're gonna go back again. We just haven't, we've been so busy. So I did go to Lakeview once. And I meant to go to the other ones because it is, it was kind of an amazing thing to see the kids go through and have the choices. And so I would encourage, before the end of the year, that every board member have at least a meal in one. Don't go, there's a group of 4, you can go, do those are, go 2 by 2 and it'll be good.
But yes, every month, this report like this with the numbers on the top of it, and when I close out at the end of the
Okay.
December,
Yep.
by the 5th of January, then
Okay.
Mark will have a paper like
Okay.
this to show
Perfect.
and share with everybody.
Or if you email it to them, that way, when it's email us, we can see the color pictures.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yep, that'd be
I can do
great.
that.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That-
Plan, go back and forth.
So the next thing we have is, we're gonna discuss / approve a high school project change order. She had 2 things that we'll put on the table, they look like this. Okay. Mike and I, with Mark and Lisa, met with Rochelle at 4 today and went over all the change orders, and here are some of the differences in there. They don't have all of the value engineering numbers back yet. So what Lisa did was she took and summarized the ones that we have. Like the $107,000 in the parking lot, that one's not back yet. Of the ones that are back, there's a couple, it's about 9% difference. We're gonna save 9% less, 9.3% less than what we thought they were, because what we got in, whenever it was in August or whenever we did this, we got an estimate of what the value engineering changes were. Now they've put some hard numbers to them. So it's close, it's not quite what we thought. There were some things that were backed out of the food service. Excuse me. Some food service equipment that they are gonna provide, like a walk-in cooler / freezer. So that changed that number by about, and some other things in the food service changed that number by about 30,000. And then the other big one is the savings on the electrical, on the mainline feeds to go from copper to aluminum. That was about $20,000 less in savings than what we thought it was going to be. Other than that, some came back a little bit more, a little bit less. But as a whole, you can see, if you want to look detail in here, kind of high level, some numbers in here. It's just a different format. And what Rochelle is asking us to do is to have a discussion / approve these, because what they need to do is go into the next stage of the change order process and create the formal change order documents that are required, from an architecture standpoint to give to the contractors. Okay? So does everybody understand where we are with that? Are there any questions on any of the change orders? And I am sorry you didn't get this ahead of time, you're just kind of seeing this today. We're not officially approving all the change orders, that would be in January. This is just more of yes to FRK to proceed with submitting those. Basically, now is the time to say, it's kind of like your forever hold your peace type thing.
Basically, you'll see these again in
Yep,
January.
we're gonna see all these again in January, with the formal documents. What Lisa did was summarize the difference in some of the changes in the values. So other than those 2 big ones, there weren't a lot of changes.
So you need a motion to approve the change orders?
Yes,
I will do that.
okay.
Second.
Motion second to take the change orders and direct FRK to create the formal documents. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you. That's 600. Okay. Next item is to approve the second readings of the board policies, the 600 series, as listed in your board packet. And in the agenda, and in the board packet, all the 600 series. We did the first reading last month, and this is now time for our second reading. Any comments, Mark? You have on those?
You know, we changed that one year, I was gonna find what that was on, it was on the curriculum adopting, changed it to line up more with our curriculum cycle, like we discussed at the last meeting, and made the couple smaller changes that we discussed there. Highlight one for you, sorry.
Okay.
That was, 605.11 is where that change happened.
Okay.
Because it's been 10 years and we did 5 years.
Yeah.
You didn't change it to 6? I thought our cycle was 6.
Yeah, we should have changed that to 6. When we look at it now.
That's in the-
Yeah, you're right. Right. Sorry about that.
Is anybody gonna talk about any of these items? Can we pass this as one motion, all of them
Right.
at one time?
And I was just, thanks, Bob, I was gonna make the comment here that since last month on the first reading, we went, and I call each one of those, I don't, unless you guys want me to, we can just do this as a packet and with the one change to the 6 years. So in the motion, I think just mention motion to approve with the one change on, what policy is it?
605.1, parentheses 1.
I make that motion.
Okay, second.
Okay, so we have the motion to approve the second reading of the board policies with the one change on 605.1 to 6-year curriculum review. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion to approve the second reading of board policies passes. Next item is approve the early graduate.
There's extra on the
Yep.
table.
The approved for early graduates for the year. There are 3 additional names that are on the table. So that takes it to a total of 9. Yeah, I think it was 6 before.
Did these 3 just figure out they could graduate early, or what happened there?
I believe those are from the virtual academy.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the early graduates for 2022, 2023. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. I just have a quick question. Are they entitled to come to graduation ceremonies in the spring if they so choose?
In the past, I believe they have.
They have? Okay. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No,
Thank you for knowing on the spot.
Item E is approved personnel business procedures, the resignations, transfers, contracts, volunteer agreements, sports officials. We normally do this as a group.
Motion to approve all the personnel business procedures.
second.
We have a motion and a second to approve all personnel business procedures, excuse me. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Same sign. Item E is passed. Financial reports. There are some additional bills on your, on the table in front of you. And of course, in the board packet are the 2 special reports that the board asked Lisa to prepare, which are the fund totals and where we are spent to date. Which general fund is tracking, salaries are tracking what you would expect. There's a big, we're just not spending a lot of property and equipment. That's what it looks like we've.
That one is, it looks different because in 2022, we had already spent all of the Perkins from that,
Oh, okay.
at this point. it wasn't noticed, so I'm just saying the big jump was in October.
Oh,
And I'm just, yeah, there you go.
I don't know what's on there.
I did have the note on there in October.
Okay. Any question on bills or fund balances? No questions? And I'd entertain a motion to approve if there's no questions.
So moving.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the district financial reports. We let them pay the bills. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, financial reports are approved. All right, principal director's reports. Who's going first?
There's somebody out there in the hallway. You wanna come in?
Hi.
Oh, come on in.
Come on in.
Have a seat. We're in a good spot for you. Thanks for coming in.
So, one of our reports here, this would be Bracken Carney, our student representative for those at home.
Okay, I'm just here to fill everybody in on some student life since last year here. Winter sports began with some promising wins all across the board. The boys basketball team started off to a 1-3 record, and they beat Davis County in a tough conference matchup. Girls basketball started off to a 2-2 record with wins against Central Decatur and Cardinal. Boys bowling has started off with a 1-3 record with a big win against Mount Air. Girls bowling is 2-2 with wins against Pella and Mount Air. Boys swimming picked up a team win against Keokuk last Tuesday. The Central dance team competed in the state dance competition and received Division I ratings from both jazz and contemporary routines.
And that's the best you can get, right?
Yes,
Congratulations, that's awesome.
thank you. The girls wrestling has 2 members on the team. Sarah Lewis went 4-0 at the Central Iowa Kickoff Tournament, bringing home the first ever trophy for girls wrestling at CHS. AJ Rossell also went 3-1 on the day, rounding out a strong finish for the team. Jessica Russo was selected to be a member of the Skiva Honor Band on flute. The CHS Student Council is in the middle of some Operation Santa fundraisers to help give back to our community. Some of these include selling dessert platters, 50-50 raffles at home basketball games, Mr. and Mrs. Frost, which is where students team up to collect donations, and Jingle Bell sales, where students can send a jingle bell to their friends with a nice note for the holidays. Last Sunday, the Centerville Band students performed in our winter concert to get everyone in the mood for the holidays. This Saturday, the high school jazz band competed in our district competition in Winterset, but we're still waiting for our results. And finally, this weekend, there was a VEX Robotics tournament at Howard, where surrounding area teams compete against each other, but as far as the results, I haven't seen the results.
Okay. Have you thought about going into newscasting? You did an excellent job.
Well, I went through it kind of fast.
No, you did great, you did great. Anybody got any questions?
Act like you're busy.
Yeah, that is great. Did anybody see the video on the that the pitch did on the robotics?
I did, yeah.
Okay, that's not what I was expecting them to do.
Not me, but I'm glad I saw it.
Yeah, did you,
I don't think I saw it.
you didn't see the
I'll have to
video?
look at it.
You gotta be proud of your middle schoolers, because I guess these robotic kits, it's parts that you can make them do anything. And have you ever seen BattleBots?
Yeah.
Where they kind of go, it's kind of like that, where they're driving around all over, and their robot would pick up a little frisbee and then fling it into a little net, and whoever got the most in there win. And so you got 3 robots going around picking these things up and flinging them. And I tell you what, I really wish I would have been there to see it, because it was pretty stinking cool. I'm telling you what, it was pretty neat, so. It'd make a nerd out of anybody, so. So that was a great thing to do, so. So good for being involved in an Operation Santa, those are some really good things to do, and so, good for you guys for doing that and all the activities. Anybody got any questions for Bracken? Anything you think we need to hear?
I think that's it.
Okay. Thanks for coming and doing the reports. We really want to hear this. And I know it takes, you're a senior, you're busy, you got to do a ton of stuff, you're highly responsible, but we really appreciate your time coming here, so. Okay,
Well,
thanks.
thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Was informed that the Becks will be very prominent in the upcoming paper,
Okay.
front page of the paper next
Yeah.
week.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you haven't seen it on the pitch, the video, AJ Anderson did like an 8-minute thing. Go out and watch that thing. I am, and, okay, these are was it mostly sixth graders, Rhonda, that were,
Sixth and seventh, yeah.
mostly sixth and seventh, so we're talking 12, 13-year-olds that built these things. And it's really impressive. I couldn't have
We
done
had
that.
one parent volunteer helping Kim, Garrett Kim, and stuff, so.
Yeah.
There were
Yeah,
a ton of teams there too. A ton of teams. And a really good scoring team for the cornfield at the next competition, right?
Yeah.
well, you judged it, right? You were down there.
We
judging.
were the scoring team for one of the fields.
Got it, yeah. Anything you want to tell us about before we get to the Christmas breakfast? To me, this is probably one of the coolest things that are going to happen all month, so.
Yeah. Kim's been doing this for several years, and she does a really good job of putting it on, and some of the teams that come from Council Bluffs are really supportive. They brought a lot of the equipment with them that you can rent, the scoreboards and all that. It went really smooth because we had the iPads to score, so the scoring was pretty cool this year. So, yeah, I hope it grows, because they give awards for best design, the judging award. There's different awards you can win besides winning a competition. And one of the coolest things about it is they learn to work as a team. Those team skills that they're gonna take into the workplace, because you have to get along. You have to have a builder, a driver, a designer. Like when you judge them, they get judged on several different things for their team. And then there's the pit area, which we put in the old gym. And so you'll see kids from other teams sharing parts, like if somebody breaks down and somebody needs a battery that goes dead, or this year they had the competitions change, or the courses change every year so that you just don't design the same thing. So they're, like this year it was the Frisbee like you talked about.
Yeah.
They've had some in the past where they've had to take a object and put it on a pole. So the robots have had to have arms that grasp something and put it on top. So every year it changes, and so.
So this VEX is like a curriculum that
Yes.
districts get into, and then they build it so they can go and compete.
Yes,
Cool.
So we had three
Four.
young. there were
4 teams.
No, I mean, sorry, we had 4, had 3 young graduates of Centerville High School who were the head judges for the event. They're all 3 in STEM fields. They all participated in VEX when they were in school. One is in aerospace engineering, one is in graphic design, and another is in software engineering, so.
Right.
I think the aerospace engineers work PhD in aerospace engineering.
Yes, he
correct?
is. Yeah.
Yeah, Centerville grads doing great things in STEM fields.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really proud of those kids.
cool. So do teams pay an entry fee to come here
No.
so you can get, so how do you do the prizes and things?
Well, the VEX competition, you get like a kit that has the
Okay.
awards and stuff.
So VEX
The
provides
trophies are
that?
the same,
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
It's a kit that she gets with all the judging rules and all that, so.
got it, okay.
Can I say something before we go on to the
Sure.
reports? So we have not been able to have a board meeting since the esports team went to state last
Thank you.
month. And Kevin joined us there. That was a great surprise to the kids. They were very proud that he was there, and many of them opened up and were sharing the games. We got down to playing for in the final rounds, and there was a little situation that took place. The venue that we were supposed to attend canceled at the last minute, so we ended up in another very nice venue. However, a birthday party was coming in. So we were not able to play our last round. And so we played just before Thanksgiving break, fall break, and Centerville esports kids won 3rd place in the state.
So you gotta make that up and do that?
We got to
Okay,
make that
match
up, so
got
we
third
came
place.
out with 3rd place. Yeah.
That was an interesting thing to be at. It was really a nice facility there in West Des Moines. And those kids were, you know, this is their extracurricular activity because they're not necessarily into traditional sports, but they were no less passionate about what they were doing. They acted like a team, they worked as a team. It was everything that you would expect in a team activity, just done on video games. And, you know, I called Mark on the way home and I said, we gotta figure out how, and this will be the challenge to the board, you know, to think about is, how can we support this? Because it was you know, for some of these kids, that is the only extracurricular activity that they're doing. They're never gonna be in band, they're never gonna be in any traditional sports. And this is the one that they wanna do. And there's only 4 gotta participate,
5.
5 gotta play,
Yeah,
but there's 20 kids in the program.
yes.
And the issue is, there's only, how many computers
6.
in the lab? 6. And so it really comes to how can we fund to grow this so that more kids can participate, because it's, I'll just tell you, based on everything observed, it's a program that's worth funding.
That speaks again, Kevin, to like the things we talk about behind that, the coaches that are making that happen. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, 20 kids don't go someplace if there's only access for 6, if they're not getting something from Cameron and Mecca as they're coaching that, so.
Yeah. So,
Our fall season just ended and we play year round, so we have 3 different seasons. So we just started our winter season. We're starting week 3, I think, and then we'll take a break over the holiday period. But we switched then from Rainbow Siege to Overwatch. And we would have the opportunity to have a JV or a varsity team. Again, if, you know, we had that equipment available to us, or even we played up against teams that they brought multiple teams. Some played other Switch games while others were doing the Rainbow Siege, so.
yeah, it's kind of set up these tight little cubicles that they were in their gaming and that, and, you know, they're on headsets. And they're, I think, using an app on their phone to communicate. And so the players on the team got a headset and a speaker, and they're talking to each other about how to play the game. Hey, go left, go right, go do all this kind of stuff. So there's really some teamwork and communication that I've never seen anything like it. It's just kind of interesting. Just they think about strategy and they think about things. It was just pretty impressive to watch. And I don't know if there'd be a chance to host all the matches that you play are all online, right? You don't have to do any travel. This is the only thing that you travel to.
Correct. Actually, when we started getting the information that we were in the finals, because this is the first time ever, and when we were reading, we're like, oh, we have to leave. We have to get transportation. What do we do?
Yeah. But there was, one of the games that was being played, they had like in this esports arena, it's up in Des Moines, kind of a Parks and Rec thing. They had all these kind of round, kind of curved couches and a TV, and I don't remember what the game they were playing, but, so the 2 teams they were sitting on the couches, they got their controllers. And it's kind of funny, some of the players, they took their own controller because they wanted their own controller that they're used to. You know, it wasn't, you know, I don't want to use the stuff provided, I want mine because I know my controller. But anyways, so there's 2 teams competing. And then there's all these kids that are watching, they're the spectators around. And all of a sudden you hear the, oh, break out. And so even other teams were watching the competition and getting into it. It was more, I don't know the word I want to, it was just, it was different than any type of activity that I've seen in high school. Because normally you think, you know, you're just 2 teams on the field of court grinding it out. And here it's just like, everybody is supportive of everybody. It's just a different, unique feeling to it. I think it's a great thing.
They did have college scouts there that were there that particular day, and we had a couple of our students talk to them, and could literally get a full ride, based on their time that they've played in their rankings.
And that's another reason why I think the district needs to think about how can we expand this program. I met a gal there, she was from another district, and she's one of the founding members of the Iowa Esports. And talking with her, there's a lot of things that came out of it. One of them was, they had 3 kids last year get scholarships. 2 of them got $25,000 scholarships to go do esports in college.
worse than I was going.
Yeah, so this is something that maybe some of us that grew up in a different era just need to really think about and embrace for our kids today. So anyways, I've talked enough about it.
The last thing I just wanted to say is thank you, for giving us this opportunity last year, 2 years ago, when I brought this to the board, when Cameron and I talked about it. So we really are grateful for the opportunity. And also coming through at the end, we were able to take a group of our kids that could go and that could not play, but they were there to cheer them on and act as spectators. So we appreciate that.
Okay, so how many computers do we need and what quality do they have to be?
Well, Cameron and I have kind of been working a little bit on that. Our goal between the two of us was to get another 6 in place for them, so they can do 6v6, so they can have scrimmages against each other. We have parts to be able to put together at least 5 that would probably do everything that needs to be done for now. And then we talked about in the future, one of our goals being, instead of buying pre-constructed computers like we did for what we've got, working with the students to price what would be needed for the games they're gonna play, picking those parts out, helping them understand that, and then building them with the students. So that we're kind of giving them a skill in that area. So it's something that we've discussed out. I think we probably need one more than we have access to right now, but we're pretty close.
We've also been talking about the addition of adding an esports group at the middle school, kind of as a feeder program. But again, that takes stuff. So
I think the ones we bought were some pretty high-end computers. I think we probably scaled back a little bit.
And quite honestly, one of the reasons why we did that was during COVID. We couldn't get our hands on graphic cards, things like that. We did talk about building and having the kids build them, but we just.
At that point, you were paying about the same amount for just the graphics card
Exactly.
as you are for the computer.
Exactly.
It's gotten a lot better now.
So are there any kind of grant opportunities from the video game companies, console manufacturers, things like that?
There are.
Put a number on it. How much money are we talking about? To get number 6?
18,000 probably.
No, are you talking just the 6th one or the
Six
6th?
more.
The 6, the last one.
Oh, just the 6?
You need one more.
Yeah, okay, about 3,000 if you wanted to build something that would be pretty relatively future-proof.
Or what about a get-by number?
A get-by number, we could probably build a get-by for $700-800. Depending on where we find a deal on what we find.
We did a fundraiser, remember when we raffled off something, what if we did something like, we used to talk about that, like hosting a tournament here in town just locally and having kids.
Stuff. I mean, right now, we're not to the point where we only have six computers. Because we've talked about even having a club at the middle school, and that makes it really difficult, getting the kids there, and when you have 6 computers, what does that look like? So, and some of the kiddos that we're dealing with, fundraising doesn't necessarily work because they're not really our outgoing, necessarily, I'm gonna go knock on your door, sort of.
Yeah. I think these are some kids that tend to be a little bit less, they're not gonna give a report like breakfast. They're just not an outgoing group.
No, but they play a game in front of you.
But I'll tell you, and so here's the interesting thing, is when I first met them, they were all just like, whatever. But when we went into this room, and I started asking questions about the game because they were interested in it, boy, they lit up and talked. So they're gonna be the type of individuals, they're gonna talk about with passion to them, and that's that game. They're not necessarily gonna be out there doing public speaking. So what are you thinking about?
Pass that. I'm in. Anybody else in?
What I'm hearing is we'll probably work as a board to get you 6 computers, what I'm hearing. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, that's your challenge, Mr. Thomas.
It's done.
Okay, so now let's go on to building reports. So, I know we got the written ones, so what do you want to add on to This is great discussion, by the way, so. How do you want to do it, Mark?
Just wanna start at preschool, work your way up, anything to add?
I don't think so. Just, it's a lot of fun time right now with little people and they're excited for the upcoming holidays and just things like that. We do have our parent family night tomorrow night. It's 2 hours of lots of fun and exciting Grinch theme. I put that in there, but if you have time and want to come by, it's 5 to 7 and have a bowl of chili and enjoy that very excited group of little friends and their families. I wrote about our DHS visit as well. That is something we have to do for our 3-year program. And we had very minimal, when I wrote those on there, those are very minimal things that you can have for the DHS list. And they were very complimentary of our teacher and how well her lesson plans look and the control she had of the classroom. So I think that's always a positive to hear. So.
Okay.
All right, just a comment, Julie and Terry, maybe, when you were talking about the handwriting thing, maybe the pitch could do something where they're showing kids learning how to, there's people in town, people my age who don't think you're teaching handwriting, so show them a picture, so they become a believer.
Well, it's funny that you say that because even my future mother-in-law said, "You teach cursive?" And I said, "Yes, we do." And so she was glad to see the kids writing cursive the other weekend. But we start at preschool with a very strict handwriting curriculum of Handwriting Without Tears, and then as we move up the grades, we are now using the Wilson program and Foundations Reading to help us with that as we get bigger. So, and we're seeing a huge change.
So it is on the record, cursive is taught in schools, still to this day.
Well, in some schools, yes.
In Centerville schools.
Our
fourth grade.
Yep.
Fourth grade.
And you say the Pledge of Allegiance, that's the other.
Every day,
Yes.
K-12.
I know.
Totally, but I guess you're way back there, aren't you? Retro.
Yes, no, we teach
Very
cursive
good.
and say the pledge.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Harry?
I kind of put mine in there, but the only thing I wanted to add to that was, and maybe you heard a little bit about this, we talked a little bit this year with the construction going on at the high school, that we thought it might be a good year for us to try our music program at Lakeview in the gym. And we had, the first one we had was Natalie Brown teaches first, second, third, fourth, fifth. So the first program we had was last Thursday night. We did first, second, third. Some of you helped us with chairs. We had seating on one side for 165 chairs on the floor. Aaron and his crew helped us with a ton. And we still had standing room only. So,
Really?
Mhm.
At least 50 or 60 probably.
Or, yeah.
It was very, very
So
touching.
you think you had 1,000 people there for that?
Or more.
No, we had 1,000 plus.
Wow.
Well,
And
just half the auditorium, half of the gym of the bleachers, which is what she was talking
Like
about.
the
Just
south
half
side.
of that is about 1,200.
And then
Wow.
we had chairs on the floor.
And we-
Plus chairs.
And we had about 50 students sick that evening. We've had a lot of flu and influenza stuff. So, we probably had about 250 students. But what I was gonna say is two positives. It was very, very touching to see such an amazing turnout. Natalie Brown is exceptional. We are so lucky to have her in our district. Did amazing things. Our kids are all doing different actions and singing and pulling kids out to do solos in a gym with over 1,000 people there. It's just a phenomenal production, I thought. And the other thing I was gonna say is not one parent said a negative thing about the parking, the line, the standing. And they had the right to. I mean, I was kind of waiting because I'm the one who said to Aaron, "We don't need chairs. Maybe another 150." So it was just an amazing event, amazing night, and lots of positive afterwards about liking it at the gym, liking that it was in the kids' school. So.
Really interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was very positive. The other thing, and I know I shared this on Facebook today, but sometimes when we talk about what's the impact of COVID and our student learning, our teachers, I talked to Mark last week about the amount of work that our classroom teachers are doing on top of their just daily teaching. In 5th grade this year, we had 42 students out of 114 that knew their multiplication facts at the beginning of the year. They tested on Friday. Our teachers have spent 20 minutes a day splitting kids up and working with them on the different strategies they need. And if you follow us on Facebook, you also see that we've got a group that has already met that, so they're doing some accelerated work. Lynn Gear and Paige Warren did an amazing activity, leading the kids with Kylie Barber on creating zoo animals and working on the amount of space that was in those animals. But after this work on Friday, our 42 students that were proficient now grew to 84. And, you know, those things just don't happen. I keep saying it, our kids are working hard, but I can't say enough about our teachers in that building. And today, every time I met with a group of people, I kept saying, you know, we're talking about data, and we're talking about what we can do to respond to data. And, you know, when we're still talking about the fact there's a lot of kids that have lived through traumatic experiences. There's still a lot of kids that don't have food security and housing security and the support that many of us know. So, but we just keep talking about what can we expect out of kids and where's the tipping point. And my question was, what's the tipping point for you as staff? Because I know we're doing the right work, but I don't want it to be at the cost of my staff's mental health either, because there's just a lot of needs out there. So.
Thank you. Rhonda?
So, there's not a lot to add. I know one of the things that people have been worried about is lockers, so we've got lockers now for 7th and 8th, those kids that want them. 6th grade's working on them this week, getting their students' lockers. We'll have a lot more 6th graders that are gonna have lockers in the upper grades. So, and it's gone real well so far. We're still continuing to spend a lot of time focusing on behavior at the middle school, taking them from being elementary students, trying to get them prepared to be independent high school learners. So we've, you know, been looking at our data, and we spent a lot of time this morning in our professional development time talking about strategies and things to use. The major thing we see with a lot of our kiddos is just a disrespectful behavior sometimes, talking back to teachers, things like that. So continually giving instruction on what's proper, a way to speak to people and each other, and continuing to try to teach those behaviors as they mature and hopefully become respectful adults. So
Contribute positively to society.
yes, and not disrupting the learning environment of everybody. So being respectful.
Okay, great. Anything from the board? All right, Brad?
I really got to work with Brecca because she steals a lot of my stuff. I would like to highlight that on the December 2nd, we took a group to the Associated Builders and Contractors of Iowa Career Day. It just started from an email. Mark says, can we make this happen? I'm like, I don't know. I talked to Mark Whistler, our welding instructor, because they have an electric, a construction, and a welding. And I thought welding was Mark's like, well, I'm sure we could. He goes, I've got wrestling that day, I can't work. And we worked it out, and Steve Benz agreed to take him. So Mark had a little competition, identified 4 welders and went up there. Unfortunately, they didn't get to compete because there was a waiting list, but they got to go experience it all. And since we went this year, we will be able, I'll be on the list to compete next year. And everybody that went had a good time, and they highly recommended we go back.
So there's high school welding competition.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Isn't it awesome?
And building trade.
Yeah, building trade, electric.
And well, 3.
But they have competitions for all 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that, yeah, just good teamwork there. We were able to get them to go up there. The Gear Up grant, you know, we try to use some of that. Gear Up's a grant we have that's really connected to our sophomore group and then our senior group. It's about advancing kids, you know, helping them opportunities. We use some of the funds. We've had a catch-up day on a Saturday. We had 15 kids volunteer to come in on Saturday to get some extra help.
Have you done that before?
We did it once last year.
Okay.
We had 15 students. I think we had 8 staff. Came in on a Saturday morning, got some work done. We've got another couple planned out this year. Last year, I know the group took a trip to Iowa City to visit at University of Iowa. This year in March, we're going to, I believe it's Turner Construction in Altoona to talk about some careers. part of the discussion today was, we do a lot of stuff bringing in trade speakers and things like that. The discussion kind of centered towards some higher end kids. I know we've talked about an architect, a lawyer, I'd like to get a doctor vetted, talk to kids, just to let them know that there are opportunities, because like Mark said, we do have several kids doing great things. And I think we need to try to expose all kids to those opportunities, so.
And Brad knows a very successful young lawyer very well, I believe. His daughter,
Oh.
by the way.
Okay, great,
So that's where the high school's at.
cool. Anything?
Yeah. Brad,
Yeah.
in the future, on one of our workshop, or whatever those are called, workspace, can you have some people come and talk a little bit about the standards-based grading?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is yes.
I think I wanna hear about it now, and then I wanna see the final product. I don't wanna just see
Well,
I wanna see it evolve, I guess.
it's a K-12 initiative. I mean, we're not by far leading it. We are just kind of, we're all doing it together. We're all kind of at a different spot. We're taking some baby steps. Like today, PD focused on what's our grading policy, what's our retake policy, each of the groups. And then the hope is to get all those back, kind of form a consensus. This is what we believe in as a building. This is what we believe in as a district. And this is kind of how we're going to move forward. So it's going to be a work in progress. It's going to be slow.
Today, the presenter shared with us the statement that the middle school and high school had done before, and then we worked on drafting one at the elementary.
The middle school spent the afternoon, just like Brad's staff, we worked together. Today we worked in our own buildings, but we had the same agenda items and the same process today. I mean, we just did it in our own buildings, but the same conversations working towards a systematic K-12 process.
Like, can I give the example, but if I'm butting in, you guys jump in and say, today, like what the presenter talked about, it's Matt Townsley, he gave us an example, and he said, this might be an example out of a grade book that I would have shared when I was a high school teacher. He said, the 4 or 5 assignments in green were daily assignments. Maybe the ones in red were tests. He said, oftentimes as a teacher, my parents would say, well, Mr. Townsley, it looks like the kids do okay on daily assignments, but they're struggling with tests. And he kind of said to us, the truth is, when I look back on that now, knowing what I know, the daily assignments weren't at the same level as the tests. This was really practice leading up to what should have been on the test. And the B that these might average out to don't really tell a parent very much about whether your child can multiply 2-digit numbers or whether your child can problem solve a 2 or 3 step math problem. So his kind of example was, the way we've always done business, because we always did business that way, doesn't really tell parents as much as maybe today's parents need to know.
So your
Would that be a
assessments,
good analogy?
your quizzes and assessments need to be different. Is that what you're saying?
Well, his point is, why do you even take homework grades? I mean, what kind of practice?
Yeah, the practice, yeah. I know Knoxville, they have practice, scrimmage, and games. You know, people relate to that. Practice is practice. Scrimmage, we're not really keeping score. Games, we're scoring. And that's what gets recorded in the grade book. That's what reflects what students know.
So like your practice is equivalent to homework. That's your practice getting ready for the game. Your scrimmage would be a formative assessment or a quiz that a teacher gives, like a check to see how much progress they're making. And like Brad said, the standard you want them to meet is winning the game or that mastery of whatever that standard is, which is your summative test. Or if you're doing project-based learning, it could be a demonstration of a standard that you can
So
meet.
if I've got homework but I'm not gonna get a grade on it, what's my motivation to do it?
We had that discussion people that do this will tell you that kids learn if I don't do well on my assessment because I haven't done my homework. The easiest way to fix that is to start doing my homework on the way up to it. So
It's a whole mind shift change.
yeah, it's a mind shift, and the relearning process is kind of long and tough. And most people tell you the kids will buy into the fact I'm going to do all this stuff ahead of time. So when it comes to assessment time, I'm ready to go.
Kind of like a free will offering. You're gonna get more people, you're liable to, somebody drop $20 in versus charging them $5 for it.
I think you got your second here, Mr. Thomas.
So yeah, Bob, there will be more. I'm sure there will be more in front of the board.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, great. Yep. All right, Mike, you wanna go next?
Yeah, sure. Not much to tell you guys, just business as usual, that's good. Got everything through the shop, fuel filters changed, air dryer service, getting ready for winter. Sent in a sample of our diesel fuel, make sure there's no water, contaminants, anything like that in there. I just always have a big fear that we're gonna get
Do
something
you have to sample
stranded.
that regularly?
What's that?
You have to sample that regularly?
I like to do it before winter, just to make sure.
Just out of the winter, okay.
Yeah, like I said, like 3 years ago, I had a bus gel up. It actually wasn't gelled up, it had water in the fuel, froze the fuel filters up alongside the road when it was about 10 degrees below, well, probably 0 at least. Wind chill's below 0, I know, because I was laying under it, changing the filters. I just don't want anything like that to happen, so always try to be ahead of the game on that. Got one of our new vehicles in, got it a couple days there before Thanksgiving, and
Was that one of the
it's a
Traverse?
Traverse, yep. The others, there's no timeline on. I know when this one got built, it's about 3 weeks after that it got delivered, so. I got it today, and it's already got 1,000 miles on it, so I mean, we're hammering down on this winter sports schedule. Looks like we're about a third of the way through it. Been able to provide transportation for everything so far, so we're doing good there. Still like to see some sub bus driver applications come in, but that's what we'll ask for Christmas, I guess. I'll kind of touch on what a couple of these principals said. It had some behavior stuff on buses. I mean, I felt like that's kind of ramped up from the beginning of school, but everybody in this room has been super supportive, and we're as soon as it pops up, we kind of get it taken care of. So I appreciate that, and I just try to support my drivers and get the problems taken care of as soon as they arise. So probably the least favorite part of this gig, but it's just part of it. So, but yeah, we're doing good, and like I said, if you guys know anybody that wants to be a sub bus driver, send them my way.
We will.
That's his tagline. Yeah.
Any questions from you guys at all?
Yeah, one time we talked about having some teacher aides ride those buses. Are you guys talking about it again?
Yeah, and it's actually, we actually have one on one bus in the morning right now. Had another gal that rode for about 3 weeks and quit because she couldn't take it anymore.
We tried.
And we have tried and are currently trying. It's a challenge.
I've been riding that bus.
Terry actually rode a bus a few times for me. I did myself.
Because I
as
couldn't
well.
watch the video, I was done. If people
Yeah, she was
saw,
mad.
if people saw how children act on those buses, I mean, it is very hard to watch because the safety and the disrespect, the language, it was hard to watch.
So question, I guess, and that's for my position. So if students were to act up in school, right, in the classroom, it would be dealt with, correct? Can we do the same on buses?
We do, we have a really good,
Yeah.
we do have a really good policy. The first time there's a write-up, there's a warning. The write-ups are done, given to Mike, Mike gives them to each of us administrators, and then we meet with the kids and then we call parents. So they know there's a warning. The second time they're off for a couple days, the third time there's more days, anything after that. So we have a young person who's off until the beginning of the fourth quarter, at what time there'll be a parent meeting with a determination to allow that.
It's not a lack of punishment, but that's not the problem.
I didn't know if we had any.
No, yeah, we have a good system. I think it works good.
We've talked about one addition to the system that we're looking at is trying to get our write-up forms either in triplicate or copied for parents, so that when they're addressing a behavior with their child at home, they've got directly in front of them a list of what those behaviors are. They don't have to remember from conversation, they can reference way back to that form. So that's something that kind of as we work through the copies of forms that we have now, and then can get more, that's a step that we're talking about, trying to do to help with that.
Our
process.
families have been good partners to us too, for the most part.
Right.
I mean, when you call and tell them your child's sitting on top of a seat, sitting on top of a seat and a bus has to stop. And
All buses now have
our
seatbelts
families
in
have
them,
been
right?
very, no, they've been very.
Not all of them.
No. I thought 3 years ago, we had to get some buses modified.
The new stuff.
You don't have to retrofit anything.
You don't have to retrofit. Anything new has a.
Right, but I thought in 2019, we
We didn't.
authorized money to retrofit.
Anything from there
You
forward.
may have, because you can retrofit some, but.
Okay,
I think back then Tim didn't want to retro.
okay.
Yeah, my form maybe.
It's pricey.
Because it was in the months of pre-COVID, so that's all kind of long.
Yeah.
But I know the new one's.
It's about $12,000 a bus.
But we gotta live stream that, so every night parents can watch their kids go.
Mike's done now.
Charge an opt-out fee so we don't have.
I gotta second what Terry said though, cause there's been some that have called in about some things and then when we kinda catch them up, we'll know, here's some things they're doing. A lot of people are doing a good job getting back with their kids and saying, hey, you didn't give the whole story when you came home. So big props to the parents in the community for wanting to do the right thing when they got that information. That's why we wanna have that information in their hands to help them out with that.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Beeson.
The last time we talked, you asked about a,
Right, I see it.
update on that. And that just kinda, almost everything is completed except for one thing that's been delayed for, being back ordered, and that's supposed to be completed during winter break. There were a few items there that went over the estimate. Some of them were add-ons in the middle of summer, but most of them not by much. A construction update, all demo and rock underlayment has been completed.
But we got triple.
All footings for the kitchen and classroom area have been done, and the plan is to start on the office area footings and have that completed by the end of the year. Drainage tile has been installed within the construction zone of our property. A crew will be working this week running the drainage tile west along Wall Street. And the intersection of 9th and Wall will be blocked off for the rest of the week to get it to the storm drains.
Have they indicated when they're gonna start doing block work?
They have not told me that yet. I have not heard anything. The goal, from what I understood, the goal was to try and do a lot of it within the next couple of months.
Yeah.
Try and do some of that and then tent it and get some heat in it.
Yeah, because if
So we
they're,
can work through the winter.
because once block's going up, now we can start, because all the foundation stuff is a ton of work, you just don't see it. Because it's all underground. When block starts going up, you know, it'll be kind of a milestone, I guess. Because you can start things, see things going up.
But they quit digging.
All right.
Do fiber.
Any questions for Aaron?
Thanks for doing that.
Okay. All right. Becca?
In terms of the virtual academy, right now, we are looking at what course offerings will take place next semester. We've had a few phone calls from families asking about enrolling for next semester, so we're getting our orientation ready for that, for those families that are interested. We are trying to keep families updated. We send out progress reports on a weekly basis to families so that they are aware of progress or lack thereof. Another hat that I wear is with the food bank located at the high school. We've had the, communication through Lakeview. We've been able to help families coming up from Lakeview as well as from the middle school, so I really appreciate the communication from the admin and other families. We partnered with a church in town to help out with identifying some families. And so the church delivered baskets to 4 families over the Thanksgiving holiday, 5 I believe, and we'll do that over Christmas, and that was very well received. If you know families that are in need of food, send them our way. Right now we have hams available, we have fresh produce that's available, milk, a ton of cereal, a variety of diapers, things for kids 0 all the way up to, you know, again, I've shared that we have some grandparents and even great-grandparents that are raising children in the district, so they are certainly welcome to come in and take advantage of.
So do they have to have kids in the district to be eligible to get from this food bank?
Not technically, no.
Okay.
No, so we do have a handful of senior citizens that have been taking advantage. And like I said, some of them are raising students that are in the district.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for Mecca? Probably would have made more sense if I had skipped over you and had you do it with. My apologies on that.
That's totally okay. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about esports, so.
All right.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Sorry. So I am also teaching a course through Indian Hills at the high school. That's the para-educator program. So we have 2 students that are going through that program right now. And at the end, our junior that's taking it, by the time she graduates, she can have her para-educator certificate and well on her way to be a fully licensed educator. So we're really looking forward to see what, you know, comes out of that. And I also have had the opportunity to talk to a couple of our para-educators in the district that are also interested in some of the programming. And so I've been working with the DE a little bit, talking to them about a grant that could potentially be coming through that will help us with some substitutes and getting some other individuals in the classroom. So that's been a nice partnership to have with Hills and have that on our campus.
All right, so for the superintendent's report, first off, I really wanna shout out to the high school band, the junior high band and the 6th grade band for a wonderful concert. Recently, they did a nice job, a lot of good holiday music, good fun concert. They sounded great too, so I was very pleased with that. I have a real discerning ear in that area, so it was really great to be able to come away and say good job. Our 2 band directors did a really nice job with that, so I really appreciated them. Been working through some various staff needs the last couple weeks here, staying on top of things. Also, I've been working on, and with the calendar committee, to put the calendar together today. It was sent out to our staff. We're gonna give a day, maybe 2 lead time, kind of see how many responses we get. I want staff to have first crack at it, then we're gonna actually send it out via our district and building Facebook pages. And for those playing along at home, we're really encouraging you between now and Christmas break to you fill out that survey and give us some feedback to help us make sure that we put together a calendar that serves our community well. Worked with our TQ committee on building some options in there. Our work, our field experiences weren't super well received. We got a handful of them, so we're trying to add some more options to give teachers ways to learn that they're interested in and kind of meet teachers' needs and desires for good professional development there. Super excited on Thursday. I get to be with the kindergartners on their concert and read something along with them, so I'm sure it will be fun, and I just hope that I don't get in the way of any adorableness there. I'm very excited to be with them and their music, so busy time, but a great time in school. December's just a fun month.
Okay. All right. And so thanks, appreciate that. Before we do board member takeaways, I'll tell you that I just want to say thanks everybody who went to the ISB convention. I know that was a sacrifice of time, and I appreciate everyone. I did say that I was going to put a little.
Which was the entire board.
It was the entire board. I appreciate that. It was the entire board. Plus it was Mark. Plus it was Lisa. And I appreciate that. I will tell you that I said I was going to put out a little feedback thing to do. I came back from that convention and went straight into Black Friday at my store, and I got overwhelmed by events trying to survive the back half of November, which is extremely busy for us. So I'm still going to get that out. So I'll try to get that out sometime this week, because we want to do maybe something in January to kind of follow up on what we got out of the ISB convention. And we'll talk more about that in the workshop, but I'll tell you, I stayed over on Friday morning for the board president's meeting, and I did find out that at the board president's meeting the next day, that board vice presidents are welcome to that. And board superintendents. So it wasn't just board presidents, it was more. And I'll tell you, to me, that was probably some of the most impactful time, because it was a half a day and it was a lot of roundtable discussion. And so I sat at a table with the Davenport superintendent, I met the Bloomfield, and sometimes you'd round robin and talk about some things. And you just gotta sit there and talk to your peers, and they bring up questions, so you can say, how are you doing this, and how are you doing that? And I'll tell you, we're not alone in some of the issues that we face. And there's a lot of great back and forth and discussion of some of those things. So I'll tell you that as a district, our struggles are no different, and our successes are no different than a lot of the other districts out there. It seems like all of education's kind of going through some of the same challenges that we are. Several of them were jealous that we got bonds passed to build some facilities, so, that was kind of nice. But anyways, thank you for being there. I haven't forgot about that, so hopefully you can still have some memory of what motivated you and inspired you up there, and I will get that feedback form out to you with that.
Can we do it, time out? You want to talk about that Iowa Athletic Association vote that we have?
Yeah, absolutely. And I apologize, because Rich is at a game today, and he probably could correct me if I get the math wrong or anything, but the Iowa High School Athletic Association is looking at a change for classifications for football only at this time, but I think the idea is that football it's just the easiest place for them to be able to make this change to kind of test it out. And Brad, I think maybe you know a little bit, so correct me.
I think that's the biggest disparity in competition with what they found in football.
Right, and so basically what they'll do is we determine our classification based on the BEDS document, which is our enrollment, full student enrollment in grades 9 through 11. And that classifies us into 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, the numbers that you're kind of used to hearing. They've made a proposal to take, is it 40%, I think, of your free and reduced lunch numbers. So your number of students who would be on free and reduced lunch, take that times 40% and reduce that number off of your BEDS enrollment in order to classify you. And this is because of disparities between access to extra coaching outside, clubs and camps.
Socioeconomic.
Yeah, factoring in that socioeconomic status for access for students. And I think there's a good deal of support for it. So
Is it reclassification or adding classes?
It's kind of reclassifying, really.
Okay.
So it's really just giving a different BEDS number. They're all now become a formula where that gets factored
Okay,
in.
so I'm saying most sports are 2 to 3 classes, and football is 6. So I didn't know if they're gonna add, but it's just
I think it's just reclassifying, and so that vote will happen right before Christmas break. They had a date on the email that they sent, but they'll come to me.
We as a board have to vote on that.
Actually, the superintendent votes for the district.
I
So,
misunderstood.
and I very much, because it would be of benefit to our district. And if you look at it, even if it weren't a benefit to our district, it's a benefit to kids. I think it's the right thing to vote yes for. And my hope would be that people look at it as what's right, and they do what's right instead of just what benefits them.
okay. Thanks. I heard about that was out there. I didn't know the district had a vote on it, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll come the week before break. I can't remember which day, but the week right before
Okay.
break.
Okay. All right, we left off with you, because you passed last time, I remember that. You had the first pass time last year and you passed, so that's how I remember that we're starting with
me.
For board takeaway.
I don't know that it's such a takeaway, but I kind of think it is. It's more of a question. Several meetings ago, we had a presentation from the middle school about field trips. And I haven't heard of any field trips. And I'm disappointed.
I don't think these are your prime field trip months. I think those are more in the spring. I know we kind of talked through some possible field trip options there. Generally, you do a field trip in the spring. Weather's better, you don't run into a chance of breaking down, you don't run into a chance of having bad weather to cancel you. I know a couple things got bounced around. So it is being looked at, it's not being done right now.
And the other thing is, I enjoyed the student presentation. And I would still like to see those students that have done well in that, sports and athletics and esports, I would like to see them come. I would enjoy congratulating them or seeing them and that sort of thing.
I think those are things we're planning to do at work sessions, not these meetings.
Whatever.
Thank you.
Derek?
Kind of a takeaway going back to, almost a month ago at the conference. First and foremost, being in a room with educators, in multiple rooms with educators, not normally my wheelhouse. I just personally want to say thank you to all that you guys do. There was a lot learned for me personally on some different things, some of the changes in gradings, curriculum, and we talked about that before, but just a lot of good information and, so we're looking forward to the next opportunity. We got to hear some great speakers, and so I'll just throw a plug out there. Thursday at 9 o'clock on ABC, Dr. Adolph Brown, it's called the Parent Test. Watch him, look him up on Facebook. He was our first speaker that day, and he was awesome.
He had the room jumping.
Yeah, it was worth watching. So that's my takeaway. Thank you to you guys for what you're doing.
Yeah, when is that again?
Thursday night, 9 o'clock on ABC.
We should get back on kindergarten.
Such DVRs.
Yeah, I don't know if they videoed that and that's available to watch.
It was.
I don't know, that would be, his presentation would be worth watching again and again and again.
I've been to many conferences for various industry, and it was probably one of the best speakers that
It was extra special to me because he was actually from Virginia Beach, Virginia, which is where I grew up. I went to high school there. He knew people I knew. It was pretty outstanding.
Yeah. So, your turn.
I have a couple things. My first thing is about OPA. I'm glad that things are going well there. The presentation tonight, I enjoyed that. I have not eaten a lunch yet, but I'm going to schedule that real soon. I'm going to go down there and figure it out.
Yeah.
And I've been spending a lot of time with Aaron Beeson over there, and I appreciate what he does. I found out that the band kids are pretty hard on locks. So, but I appreciate Aaron and everything he's doing for us.
All right, just give you the look. Board takeaway is I enjoyed hearing about the esports and everything they're doing. And I want to go back and say I was wrong from when we initially did this. I was not a proponent of it, and I'll make that clear. Been proven wrong. So good job. Thank you. Tell your kids thank you.
I'll share a little bit more. In fact, I had some to share with you. So, yeah. So my takeaway and comment is I am continuing to learn all the time about things that are kind of new and current in education that are so different than my experience. I've talked about this before. And the robotics thing is like the surprise and delight of the month. I had no idea that it was at that level of robotics and competition, blown away. And the more and more I think about the STEM things that we're doing for kids in there is, and some of it goes back to esports, as Scott talked about, what are the careers in esports that are out there? And the kids getting into esports are now going into, because you can get it, it's motivating them to get into graphic design, it's motivating them to get into story writing because of all these things. And the careers and the scholarships that are out there. And so I'm just really proud of the district and the things that we're doing to help to grow and promote things that are maybe different than what a lot of us grew up with in school, because times are changing and so the robotics thing is it was awesome. And the esports thing was, and so I think the challenge to us as a board is how do we continue to support what I would consider thinking outside of the box type things to motivate our kids in there to the point where actually in 2 schools a day, I volunteered to teach a STEM class and give a teacher a break. I get to pick the topic, but I volunteered to take one day in each one of those schools and teach a STEM class. So I'm just waiting for the, because I got some things I can come in and teach. And I offered to do that. And it's Kevin's given a teacher a break day in those 2 buildings. And so it's motivated me to kind of give back that way.
I think you should come teach kindergarten.
Oh, I don't know.
Preschool. I was kinda thinking I've seen a movie where maybe Mike should go.
Oh, there you go.
I've seen Mike teach in our building.
They love it
Witness
when
that.
they love it when I come to the preschool.
Yeah.
Yes, they
So, yeah, so I'm putting that out there, building. I'm willing in those 2 buildings to go teach for a day. Brad, I guess I could talk to you about it too, so your takeaway.
My takeaway, I would like to say thanks to all the directors and everybody that's, since we started putting this together this way. I've learned so much, like my example, the welding competition. I didn't know something like that existed, and I didn't hear about the robotic stuff and the different things you're doing. And I really appreciate you taking your time to come in here and fill us in on what's going on, because I should know that stuff, and I didn't a year ago. So I appreciate it.
Terry, what are you working on?
I don't know.
I believe that. I think it's a dog, man, that's
Just
not
helping,
Bob?
just helping a family.
I'm gonna be on the same theme as everybody else tonight. I mean, when those people talk, we kind of learn. A school district is a complex organism. And tonight I learned it's even more complex. I mean, I thought I know about education, but there's just all these things going on. And I don't even know how people keep track of all that stuff in their heads. When I listen to some of you spell out letters, we did this report and that. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm really trying to.
I'm impressed.
Okay. Thanks for the takeaways. If there's nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Here we go.